do that.
Check. Hey, everybody. Oh my God, we are live. What's up? Christine Blackburn is with us today, and we got most of the original crew here. How you guys all doing?
Good.
Couldn't be better.
Woo!
Couldn't be better.
Welcome everybody to episode 79 of Crossing the Streams. Can you believe it? 79.
Wow.
That's
They said we
crazy.
would make it 78.
Who knew? So, all right. Well, we have to kick off. We have to do the theme song just to kick off. Christine, let me move you to the top there. You want to give it a shot? We didn't practice. It's to the tune of the Brady Bunch.
Okay.
Here's the
story. I don't hear the music.
Here's the story.
No, there's no music.
there's no music. Oh, we don't have a budget for music.
Yeah,
There's no music. Oh, then I'll go right to it.
It's acapella.
It's acapella.
Wait, you
where's she going?
Here we go.
He's getting some tangerines.
Story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me. Here comes Jeff Dwoskin. We are now crossing the stream with Jeff Dwoskin.
I like it.
Let's call that.
I just got solid.
Yeah,
Nicely
we're gonna.
done.
Might be the new theme right there.
That might. I think you just.
Somebody record that.
It's like when you go to see Billy Joel and he changes the words to Piano Man for some reason.
Oh, the worst.
No, that was amazing.
Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
Tony Danza, yeah.
You brought it. Well, all right. Well, welcome everybody to Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question: what should I be watching? What should I watch next? We have a special guest with us today, Christine Blackburn from Storyworthy, celebrating 12 years of podcasting, folks. 12 years.
12 years.
Tell everyone about your podcast and where they can find you. Now's your time. You got a plug. Go ahead.
It's true, Jeff Dwoskin. I have been podcasting for 12 years, and I have made hundreds of dollars. So it's been a journey. It's been exciting, and you can find me at storyworthypodcast.com. And of course, listen to the show wherever you find your podcasts. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's up to you.
Well, tell everyone how your podcast works. Did you ever
pitch? Okay, sure. So Storyworthy, I started this show 12 years ago, and basically comedians come on and tell true stories. So every once in a while I have on somebody who's not a comedian, and usually then they're still a comedy writer. But the idea of the show is that it's not long form interview. We talk about whatever the person brings to the table. So, for instance, my guest this week is comedian Blanket Patch, and he brings a story about being California sober. So that's what we talk about. I'm not going to say to Blaine, where are you from? Where'd you go to school? We're not going to go through all that. We're just going to talk about what he brought to the table, which is California sober, which is being, not drinking alcohol, but smoking weed.
Right. If we want to know the birthdays and stuff, Christine sends them to my podcast where I will ask them.
No, but like last week I had on comedian Esther Koo, and she talked about writing for a newspaper in high school, and it was one of those scandalous things, and she started calling out the rich kids in school and saying they bought the homecoming queen and they bought the valedictorian. The point is that Esther Koo, you can see back in high school the comedian she would become. I mean, it's another great example of a fun story.
She's nuts. She's nuts. I've seen her and heard her on many shows and podcasts.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, and I try to get some of the biggest names I can. So I've had some really great people like Dave Koechner, Wendy McClendon Covey. I even had stars like Sugar Ray Leonard.
Nice.
And Larry King. So
you didn't get Dave Koechner drunk on your podcast, did you?
Well, no. I mean, Christine's had over, like 700, way more than 700.
Yeah, 700
episodes.
Wow.
She's interviewed quite a few people. I mean, she didn't name drop me.
Yeah.
But I've been on, that's how I met. Christine was on my podcast. We had a great
Episode
conversation.
75.
Just so you know, like, so when Christine was on my podcast, we had this fun kind of back and forth about I love Disney and Christine hates Disney. So I swear to God, when I posted this picture on Facebook, and then Christine finally made some comment on it, and when I joked to you, like, I've been waiting for this, I seriously, that's what I was thinking about when I was posting it. It was like, I'm waiting for you to post something about it. So
I've also had other guests come on, actually, Jeff, and talk about Disneyland. And those episodes do really well because people like the controversy of Disney.
Yes. And
I see no controversy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't get enough. But all right, wait. So we got a couple things here. Jerry, Christine, way to add something. Need a class.
Jerry,
Right.
Jerry, shout out, man. Awesome.
And Lee's a big hit of the karaoke remix. Nice job.
Nice.
Let's see. We got Devin. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, that's
Jeff's
nice.
stories are always tall tales. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ron likes to go in and comment while the show's on.
I comment on my own show.
Ron likes to comment.
I like the
It
Christina.
gets a little meta
Jib.
around here. So, all right, very cool. So, yeah, so everyone check out Storyworthy. It'll definitely be one of your faves.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, all right. So, what else we got? Before we get to all the shows, we caught up on The Boys. I do want to plug. I need to do this on the show, but the Orville, everyone needs to. That's back on Hulu. It's awesome. It's I think better than it was before even. And I don't know where else are we in the middle of. Oh, and then Ozark is my update, which we reviewed. Ron updated, but we're like a couple into season 2. The show is bonkers. Like it's easily one of the greatest shows ever, and it makes me hate. It makes me hate Stranger Things season 4 even more, and it makes me hate what's the one I always rail on Apple Plus.
Wait, Jeff, how do you feel about Stranger Things season 4?
I think season 4 is great if you don't mind 8 hours, 9 hours worth of material that could have been whittled down to an hour and a half. Yeah, I feel like after 9 hours, you're like, oh wow, I feel great. And then what's the other one on Apple with the guy from Parks and Rec?
Severance.
Yeah, the other 9-hour one
Severance,
that just pays off in the last 60 minutes. Yeah.
Now, Jeff, would you agree that Ozark is, though a great show, exhausting? It's an exhausting show, right?
Well, I think Breaking Bad's exhausting. I can't rewatch Breaking Bad, but I still think it was like the greatest watch through ever.
No, wait a second, but I think what you're saying is that Ozark, you have to watch each episode twice just to get it. It's dense. Is that what you mean?
I'm saying it's so tense that I'm like,
no, not tense, dense with a D,
dense.
like dog.
Oh, it is dense, but I would also say it's dense. I squeeze my hand. See those knuckles? That's because of Ozark.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I have to watch it twice through just to get it all. Like, oh, okay, I see this guy and this guy. It takes a minute.
Yeah, we love watching for the 4 images at the beginning. And then trying to, kind of look for those.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't figure that out, but it keeps getting more insane. And like I tell you, Laura Linney, did I say it? Is one of the greatest. Laura Linney is absolutely insanely great actress. Like
she really is.
She's great in everything.
Yeah, I was going to say she's been good for a long, long time. I mean,
in this, she just is.
The Truman Show just popped up last week on cable, and she's so good in that.
So good.
So good.
Holding up all the product placements, and I mean, she's great in that.
The Truman Show is a great movie.
Congo, a horrible movie, but she's good in it.
And Jason Bateman, I think, it just goes to prove that comedians can be way better and more powerful at drama than even comedy. Like the funnier they are, like Robin Williams, I would say some of his dramatic roles are some of his best roles.
Wow.
Jim Carrey.
Robin Williams.
A lot of the serious people, because comedy is so kind of deep and rooted in all those issues. Like they can do drama.
But Robin Williams was Juilliard trained before he became a comedian. Jim Carrey was
in acting. Was that true? In acting?
Yeah, he was roommates with Christopher Reeve, actually.
But in theater, he went to Juilliard for theater for acting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Theater.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I didn't think Jim Carrey was all that great as a straight man, but that's all right. I'll agree to
great in
disagree.
He was.
Well,
He was great in
it's all
Truman
right.
Show. He was
You
great in
can't
the
can't be right
Andy
about everything.
Kaufman. The Andy Kaufman
Yeah.
bio.
Oh, that's fair. Actually, that he was excellent.
That is really good, right? All right, let's do a quick moment. We're shout out for Ukraine, and then just keep that in everyone's minds. Go with that, and then of course we got the drinking game. We got if anyone on the show drinks, you guys drink. Technical issues, drink. If we forget to mention what platform the show is on, drink. If we put your name on the screen, drink. If we forget someone's name, drink. So thank you, Jerry.
So drink
for that.
Just drink.
Yeah, just
basically just drink.
Drink. As Christine takes a sip of something. Great. All right. So all right. We got a great show for you today. But just to recap last week's show, Howard dug up Anchorman, the hidden movie Anchorman.
Dug up.
And then I reviewed The Incredible Hulk Returns, the classic, and then Legendary Tales, and then Halftime with J-Lo. So that was, check that out. That's streaming on YouTube. Today we got a full show for you. We got Obi-Wan Kenobi, Barry. Why does Ron always pick things I cannot pronounce? I kind of feel like sometimes you just pick up a show that just see Charité at war. I don't know.
Charité.
Charité.
And then we got The Irishman, and then Elvis, which is which turns out to be Sal's secondary theme of just movies that he loves about people.
I feel we could have a whole show on The Irishman. Whoever picked The Irishman.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we try to be timely.
It would only be if we did the whole show, and it would still only be a third of the length of the movie.
All right. So let's kick off. Let's kick off with Elvis.
Okay.
Elvis. Let's go in Elvis. Tell us all about Elvis.
All right. Well, for all our listeners out there, I'm a huge Elvis fan. Been a huge Elvis fan my whole life. I've pretty much I've either read or seen a lot of movies about Elvis Presley. So I was this was something that I was going to be able to dissect and see if it's a good job, because to tell Elvis's story, everybody knows it. We all know the story. So it's going to be like, how does this gentleman tell the story? And that gentleman is, I want to get his name right, Baz Luhrmann. Yeah, Baz Luhrmann.
Baz Luhrmann. Were you excited that he got chosen, or that he was the one that took on this project?
Well, when I found out it was him, I'm not as privy in the movie industry as like Jeff and some of you guys on here, but I looked him up. He did Moulin Rouge. He did Romeo and Juliet. So I knew there was going to have that kind of a spin on it a little bit. But I thought if he can do it well, it would depict Elvis in a good way. And he nailed it. I mean, I'll just get right to it. I thought it was great. It moved really, really fast. Elvis was starred by Austin Butler, kind of a newcomer on the scene. And he absolutely when I saw him, in newspaper articles or on the internet, I didn't think he looked like Elvis at all. But in the movie, he nails it. He nails all the moves and stuff, like the dance scenes. Made himself look like Elvis in the 70s and stuff. Just a nice job. The makeup, whoever did makeup on this movie is incredible. Cinematography is incredible. Tom Hanks plays Colonel Tom Parker. I didn't know Colonel Tom Parker. I knew he was a shrewd businessman. I didn't know that he was such a, pardon my French here, like a dickhead towards Elvis, and just obviously really, really raked in the coals, where I didn't think it was as bad. I knew it was bad. Every manager takes everybody to the cleaners, but Tom Parker really, really gave it to Elvis, and I didn't realize as much as that was. But Tom Hanks does a great job in it. It moves very fast. It goes through Elvis's life very, very fast. They don't really spend a lot of time on each of his chapters in his life, so to speak. And but very well acted. There was another guy, Alton Mason, plays Little Richard. He just absolutely nails Little Richard, man. It was awesome. Really, really cool scenes in Memphis in the 50s and stuff, in the 40s, with Elvis kind of learning his love of jazz music and blues. Just a very well done movie. I highly recommend it to everybody. Just to give you guys, our listeners out there, Austin Butler had to fill some big shoes. I mean, here there's over 17 actors that have played Elvis in the movies. Some of the noteworthy ones: Kurt Russell, Don Johnson, Harvey Keitel, Robert Patrick. But this kid does a nice job with it, and I think he's going to be around for a really long time. He's actually a very, very good actor. I loved it. I really did. I loved it. It's a tough thing to do an Elvis movie, and he nailed it.
How long was it?
Fantastic.
2 hours and 40 minutes, so it's pretty long.
Ooh,
But
2 hours and 40 minutes.
It moves. It
Time.
moves really, really fast. I mean, they really don't spend a lot. It's really cool, fast action. Like it kind of just moves through the scenes. They don't really spend a lot of. There's not a lot of dull time. Like just, I mean, the acting's great, but you don't have like these really long acting scenes. The relationship with his mother is really, really brought out to light in this movie. I know a lot about Elvis and his family. I didn't know his mother had an alcoholic problem. I thought she had a pill problem. In this movie, she has an alcohol problem before her death. Elvis had the pill issue. I thought his mom had that issue as well. I don't know if there was something they didn't want to have both of them have pill problems, but I think that's really what the situation was in real life. But anyway, besides that, I give it a 5 stars, five tomato stars.
5 tomato jars.
5
All
tomatoes.
right.
So Sally, quick question. So I hold up Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix as the ultimate musical biopic, right?
Yep.
Where does this compare?
above the Walk Hard, the Dewey.
Right. Where does this compare to Walk the Line? Because Walk the Line is tough to beat.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I don't think it's as good as Walk the Line, but I think it's kind of differently made. And I think after you see it, you'll kind of agree with me. Walk the Line was more of drama, acting. There was obviously musical scenes in that movie, but there was a lot of acting involved, where this is more showmanship. They have scenes. He played at the International Hotel in Vegas for 5 years. They literally show scenes. It's not footage. This is directed by him, and they shot this footage. They made the audience look like they were in the 70s, the tables, the red velvet, all that. And they did an unbelievable job on it. So as far as that, I think it.
What hotel is that now? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
What hotel is that?
I don't know. I think it's the Maxim. If I had to guess, I would say it's the Maxim, because it sits out on the end of the strip. When they were showing it in the movie last night, I'm like, that looks like the Maxim. The Maxim was back then. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to bring up a sad subject, but what was the hotel where that horrible shooting happened out of the window? What hotel was that?
No, that's
Mandalay
the
Bay.
Mandalay Bay.
Oh, the Mandalay Bay. Maybe it was that, because it kind of resembled that.
Yeah.
Now,
Now, Sally, one last question. Does he do a good rendition of Suspicious Minds?
Yeah, he does. He does a good job. He does an incredible job. And then they show like actual footage. Like sometimes they'll have his footage on stage, and then they'll have like a different screenshot of actual footage. So they blended those two together very, very well. But he did a hell of a job, man. And I guess it wasn't him singing. They said that they kind of infused Elvis's real voice. So don't think he's singing all that stuff, but his moves on stage were incredible, absolutely incredible. And when he went to the army, they made him dress like he does. You've seen the footage when he meets Priscilla and all that kind of stuff. That was absolutely great. This Lerman nailed the director. He might get an award for his direction on this. It's very, very good.
Moulin Rouge is one of my. I love
that
Rouge.
too. Me too.
Yeah,
love it. Movie. Did it take you out of it when they show the real Elvis? Because I remember the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, the Tina Turner movie. Like Angela Bassett became Tina Turner, right?
Yeah.
And to me, she did, and like she just owned that. And at the very, 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 very end, they show real Tina Turner, and I was just like, it kind of like I don't know. I know what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But I just it was like you started to believe that Angela Bassett was Tina Turner, and then they kind of showed, and it kind of just took you right out of it.
Yeah.
Well,
a little bit of that.
That's one of the amazing things about a musical biopic that I would put up there with Walk the Line, Bohemian Rhapsody. That's one of the amazing things about the Wembley Live Aid scenes, is if you watch the actual footage from Live Aid side by side with the movie, down to the hand motions of Freddie Mercury. It is identical.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to show the actual footage. They basically redid the actual footage. It's
That's
pretty
true.
amazing.
Right down to
how-
the Pepsi on the thing.
Yeah,
I will say about
everything.
Bohemian Rhapsody though, it seemed enjoyable the first time I watched it. I found it unwatchable when I tried to watch it again.
I struggle to watch.
Like
unwatchable. I struggle to watch Walk the Line. I mean, it's so slow.
Ray too. It's Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. And how dare you not include the jazz singer?
True.
All right, you did convince Casey Ryan plot, which
thanks, Casey.
And not to put pressure on Christine, who's going to go up next, but that's the goal here.
Oh, okay. About Barry.
Yeah, we're gonna do Barry, the HBO classic in the making, and welcome to the show, Christine. This is your debut. Go for it.
Come on, bring it.
This is exciting, and if I have to talk about a television program, then this is the one, Barry. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it already. They just finished and have put up on HBO the 3rd season. I know there's going to be a 4th season, so that's exciting. And it's a drama, but it's also very funny. So I would say it's a black comedy, and it's written and developed by Alec Berg and also Bill Hader. Started out in 2018, and basically it follows around Bill Hader, who plays a character named Barry, and Barry Berkman. And Barry is from Cleveland. He's also a Afghanistan veteran who is a lot of PTSD. Anyway, he's stressed out, and for money, he's a hitman. He's a hitman on the side, and so he has a couple of hitmen that he works with. One includes the actor Stephen Root, who is just tremendous. I don't know if you guys remember Stephen Root, all the way back to like Office Space. You know, he played the one
great in everything.
Yeah, with the stapler, and he had the little scene, and he, had to go down into the office in the basement behind, the heater and be, Anyway, great guy. He would say, "I like to listen to my radio at a very low volume."
That time they promised me a piece of cake. I was told I could have.
I received it.
And he plays the character Monroe Funches. And then the other big character in it is a character named NoHo Hank, and he's played by Anthony Carrigan. He's the bald guy. I think he has a certain condition where there's no hair on him. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Alopecia.
There you go.
Yeah, made famous at the last Academy Awards.
Yes,
that's true.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Of course. And anyway, he is such a wonderful actor. Oh my gosh. So between NoHo Hank and the Stephen Root character, those are two of the drug dealers. And so Barry, like I said, this guy from Cleveland, he goes out to Los Angeles to do this hit. And the hit happens to be a kid who's in acting class. So now Barry, as the hitman, has to join the acting class in order to infiltrate it, as it were, and then kill this person. So that the whole thing that he has to kill somebody, that's even not really important. He kills many, many people in this series because, again, he's a hitman. But the acting class that he joins is being taught by a guy named Cusimano, and he's played by Henry Winkler. And what happens is Bill Hader, Barry, finds it in his heart that he loves acting. Like that's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to be a hitman anymore. He wants to put that life behind him. He just really does want to be an actor. And he falls in love with a beautiful girl named Sally Reed, and that's played by Sarah Goldberg. And so he, gets a relationship going with her. And so this is, like I said, this has been 3 seasons now. In this last season that just wrapped up, I just finished watching it, 8 episodes. It was just so good and so funny. Like, it's so dark. The dialogue is incredibly humorous, even though they're doing these very disturbing things. It's very funny in a Breaking Bad kind of way, for sure. And in this past season, there was an amazing car chase that included these motorcycles, and people are talking about it. I don't know if you guys have talked to anybody or heard anybody talking about Barry and the car chase. I'm telling you, it was so cool. This picture a car dealership like a Toyota car dealership or whatever. And you know how there's like the roof and there'll be like one roof and then it goes up a little bit and then there's more cars up there. So there's cars all along the one layer and then it goes up and there's more cars up there. And anyway, in one scene, these motorcycles are chasing him and they jump up to the roof, like via maybe whatever, he ramps his way up. Maybe it was a garbage bin, then a car. Next thing you know, the motorcycle guy's on one roof and then he jumps and now he's on the other roof. It's almost like the motorcycle is jumping buildings. It's so fun. Anyway, you guys, big ending here in season 3. The good news is I know that it's coming back. So, it will be back. I'm telling you, it's getting all kind of critical acclaim. It was up for 30. It was nominated for 30 Emmy Awards. So it's one of those big shows you don't want to miss. Kind of like an Ozark or a Breaking Bad.
I started it. Well, I didn't stop it because I didn't like it. I don't know. I must have got distracted and didn't go back, or maybe something else kind of did it. But I loved it when I watched it. Finally, Henry Winkler wins what was it, an Emmy? He got the Emmy finally.
So smart. Yeah. Oh, he's so good in it. It's very exciting.
So there was NoHo Hank. Some trivia on this I found. Was originally meant to die in the pilot.
Wow.
But they loved him so much that they kept his character
He's
around.
just one of those very likable guys, a very likable killer,
And then I read also, it said that they were writing it and they're like, do you think a show about a hitman could be funny? And then Bill Hader's like, well, what if it was me? So, all right, so we love it. This is on HBO Max. There's now 3 full seasons in it. Let's see what we got here. Jerry got HBO Max just for Barry. So there you go. And then wait. Oh man, I don't know. Casey, maybe he left. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Christine, NoHo convinced. All right, you did it. That's a pretty rock solid. You're off to a rock solid. Rewriting the entire theme song. It's like you're on fire.
Wow, I'm excited.
You are on fire. All right.
I know so many people.
Wow.
I know so many people. Sorry, that are just epically like completely Barry maniacs. So there's something about this show that the people that it connects with, it really connects with, and they become absolutely dedicated to this show. So
I got to get back into it because it's only like a 30-minute show, right?
Yeah, it's not long at all. It never ends. It ends way too fast every time. There's also in this last season, by the way, kind of this nod to The Sopranos, where all of a sudden it was like when Tony was dreaming and he was up in Asbury Park and on the boardwalk, same kind of thing, right? So now Bill Hader's kind of dreaming, Barry's dreaming, and next thing you know, he's on this big, vast beach, and the whole thing goes like to black and white, and he sees all these people that he's killed. You know what I mean? Kind of. So anyway, it's every episode is like a small movie.
All right, well, we're gonna check it out. That's awesome, so awesome. All right, let's move. You know what else is awesome? This Charité.
Charité. So it's actually, so you picked Charité at War, which is the name for the 2nd and 3rd season of Charité. Charité is actually a 3-season episode, but started, believe it or not, actually back in 2017. But then took a 2-year gap in 2019 and is back on again in 2021. And they did the same thing that The Crown did, where they went a couple of seasons and then switched casts completely because it was taking on a completely different era to the show. So this was, again, another Netflix algorithm suggestion for me, which always does a great job. So appreciate it. Thank you, the information technology folks at Netflix, for sharing this with us. It is a German-made show, and it is a drama television series, each episode roughly between 45 and 60 minutes long. And it tells the story, at least in season 1, about life in a hospital in the 1880s in the Germany with the Kaiser. And what's interesting about that is that there is a kind of like a crossing of moments between the women's liberation movement in Germany combined with medical discoveries that are happening in the late 1800s, particularly with vaccines and medical therapies for things like tuberculosis and other types of diseases that were ravaging Europe during the time. And as it turns out, and as the show does just an excellent job of building up to and then telling finally the ultimate story, women have a tremendous role to play in Germany overcoming, and Europe, frankly, and the world taking on the responsibilities of medical technology and being able to support their populations with new therapies. By the way, am I cutting in and out? I'm kind of hearing myself choppy. I'm good?
No,
yes?
You're great. I've never heard you better.
Excellent. So appreciate that. So this is really good. It's created by a woman named Dorothy Schoen, which I don't expect that you have ever heard before. She is the writer and director for the first season. It stars Alicia von Rittberg. Now, I don't expect you would know that name off the top of your head. Alicia von Rittberg. She herself is actually German royalty. But what's interesting about Alicia von Rittberg is if any of you guys saw the movie Fury with Brad Pitt, she got her acting debut in Fury, being the young German girl that ends up dying. She has a single scene where she doesn't speak any English. She's the one, exactly that, just that one scene. Well, apparently that one scene propelled her, and she's now got a prolific German career. So it's pretty excellent. So listen, Charité is pure drama. It is, if you're interested in learning about how, from a science and perhaps social enlightenment standpoint, we've come to where we are as a society, it's an excellent, excellent ride. And I really enjoyed season 1. I have not seen seasons 2 or 3 yet. I do think it's interesting that they switched out the casts. I also think it's particularly interesting, whereas season 1 was in the 1800s. Season 2 goes into 1943 to 1945, and then season 3 then moves again to 1961, which is again showing you different socially important periods of women and of technology and kind of the colliding of society and these important moments in life. So I really recommend it. I think this is subtitled. I know some folks don't enjoy the subtitles. We've talked about this endlessly. Do not dub this thing. It is much better in its original German. Yes, they yell at each other in German, which is always good. But it is a highly enjoyable show. I think it takes you on a great ride. I think the characters are well developed. They have terrific acting. The storyline is very well done. I think the production's excellent. So score 1 for the Germans. And I'll be when they.
I'm gonna take your advice on the subtitles, but I get a little dicey when I hear the terms. I prefer the original German. It's a little dicey.
Wait, so this is a true story. These people just happen to all be in this one particular hospital. Just happened to.
It is. The whole story. The whole story is true. And what's interesting, you find out in this original, the first season, is that there was quite a bit of resistance, mostly religious resistance, to the idea of some of these therapies that involved live vaccine, and some of the great stories you've heard about how we've overcome things like smallpox and other types of terrible diseases. If you can imagine it, the powers that be resisted mightily some of these therapies and some of these advances. And it took people risking their career, sometimes their lives, to prove to the government and society that this was real and that this is science, and that you can't make up math and science, and that this stuff is going to change the world. And it does, and it did. And I think it's part of the great story. So I love stories like this, where people risk everything to prove a point and end up being correct.
Sorry, I got handed a note from my lawyer. The views on science and math that Ron just said are not necessarily the views.
Crossing the streams. Yes, crossing the streams.
Crossing the streams is very pro STEAM.
We listen. We respect all people's views, science or otherwise. And listen, I don't mean to in any way.
If God means to smite the world, who are we to build an ark? All right, this is
what evolution.
Right, very interesting. And Casey Ryan Plot, you've convinced him, but he's going to watch it
but Casey speaks the original German, so this will be good for him. So Casey, entschuldigen Sie bitte.
German.
All right. Nice job, Ron. Always with the foreign films. We all have
had such smart friends, Jeff.
I know. That's why. And then all right. So the next show we're going to talk about is we're going to whittle this down. So
he's not number one in Yemen for
the Irishman. The Irishman. Howard's going to take us through the Irishman.
So obviously the movie's been out for 2.5 years. It came out in late 2019.
Howard started it when it came out. He just finished it.
I did, yeah. It's taken me. I'd watch like 2 minutes every day since. So I just rewatched it. I couldn't sleep between the hours of 12 and 3:30 one night last week, and I rewatched it, and I forgot how really good the movie is. So The Irishman is, for those who haven't seen it, is a Netflix movie. It's a Scorsese movie starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, who came out of retirement. They had to beg him to come out of retirement to be in this, and the only reason he came out is because it was Scorsese, De Niro, and Al Pacino, and that's really why he came out. It's based on a book by Charles Brandt called "I Heard You Paint Houses," which I didn't even realize is they never refer. The title block at the beginning says "I Heard You Paint Houses" to honor the title of the book, and it doesn't say The Irishman until the credits at the end of the movie. So they were very loyal to the author of the book. Before I go into what it's about and a little bit more about it, to me, part of the major significance of this, and it may be just perceived significance, and partially the timing of it being just months before the pandemic hit. But to me, a major significance of this movie is it felt like the first blockbuster caliber Hollywood movie that was made exclusively for streaming. And I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting, but to me, thinking back, it's the first one that I could pinpoint in my mind of a major director and major actors and a major movie that would have completely been released in theaters. Again, not pandemic related films that had no choice because movie theaters were closed, but the first Hollywood blockbuster caliber movie that was made exclusively for streaming. I couldn't think of another one prior to that. And now every month we get movies of that caliber. So I think that's a pretty significant thing that Scorsese made a 3 hour plus blockbuster solely for streaming. I thought that was really a significant part of the movie. So just the plot is based again on this book, and the story is shot in flashbacks from the main character, Sharon, who was a mob hitman and became the right hand to Jimmy Hoffa. So it's shot in flashbacks of how he became involved and became a hitman for the mob, how he grew within the structure, how he became a confidant to Jimmy Hoffa, how he became heavily involved in the Teamsters, and how in the end, being more loyal to the mob, he was asked to be the one that did away with Jimmy Hoffa when he became a threat to the mob. Pacino plays Hoffa, and he's great. He's he's in between old school quiet acting Al Pacino and modern hoo-ah, crazy over the top chewing scenery Al Pacino. So he's sort of in between those two things. I think there's a great relationship that develops between De Niro's character, his daughter, who's played in her adult years by Anna Paquin, and she has a real love of Hoffa as an uncle, almost a second dad type fixture in her life. And I think Pacino does a really good job with that. Pesci is incredible. The secondary roles are just a whole host of character actors who I just love in everything they do. Bobby Cannavale is just amazing in everything. It reminded me that the first episode of the HBO series Vinyl, which only did the one season, was a 2-hour episode directed by Scorsese, and Bobby Cannavale was the main character. That episode itself plays like a movie if you've never seen that. And you have HBO Max like Casey Ryan plot, or like Jerry. That episode itself is worth watching. Ray Romano, who's also in Vinyl, is great in this movie. Harvey Keitel. Jesse Plemons, who has become much bigger and was in Breaking Bad, amongst other things, and I think is one of the best young actors working today. He's not that young, but best one young actors. And then another character that my wife, who's unbelievable at spotting things like this, we were watching it, and Welker White is her name, an actress. She plays Pacino's wife, Jimmy Hoffa's wife, in this. And my wife goes, "Pause it." The first scene she's in, I'm like, "What?" She goes, "That's Lois." And I go, "Who's Lois?" She goes, "Lois, the babysitter from Goodfellas." I go, "There's no way 30 years later that you know that was Lois from Goodfellas." Sure enough, it was the babysitter who wouldn't leave
Funny.
without her hat. I'm like, "How did you notice that?" I don't know that she's been in anything in 30 years, but yeah, that was pretty amazing. So, it's long. There's no doubt about it. And it deserves a little bit of a beating. It also was, it was really roasted by some articles after the fact that said that it was, and just like we talked about Winning Time a couple weeks ago, it was they took some significant dramatic liberties with some of the story, and there were people that were say that it actually can change opinion of some of the folks involved, and they were concerned about the reception it would have. But it's a very, very good movie, in the vein of any solid Scorsese film. The caliber of acting excuse me, is obviously superb with that cast of characters. Split it into two. Give yourself an intermission at the hour and a half mark.
I think there's things out there that tell you when to stop. Yeah, the trivia I have for this is that Joe Pesci could have refused as many as 50 times. So so Marcus Red Fox is the last place that Jimmy Hoffa was seen, right, which is actually not too far from my house. It's, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. It's on Telegraph. It's where Andiamo is now. But it was the Marcus Red Fox, which is in the movie. Yep. It was interesting. So I had Jack O'Halloran. He was Non in the big Krypton bad guy in Superman 1 and 2. And his father, part of Jack O'Halloran's story is his father was a mob boss in New York prior to like the big mob families that took over there. So if you go listen to that episode, okay, when I tell you he talked about what really happened to Jimmy Hoffa, he said this is not even close to what really happened. Because this, again, you got to remember, the book was written by the lawyer, not by the guy, right? So, but he's like, "Jeff, why do you think he's buried anywhere?" I'm like, ooh, yeah, Anyway, so, but then he also talks about the JFK assassination. I'm not saying he's right or anything, but I'm telling you, it's a fascinating conversation. It's one of those where I'm like, I can't believe this is being recorded right now. I'm so happy. But anyway, so it was, I enjoyed The Irishman. It was long. They used that de-aging thing a lot in this one. They was also known a lot for that.
Well,
and
they talked about that after Goodfellas, Scorsese and De Niro wanted to write another movie. They wanted to write a movie together, not just, create a movie with director and acting. And it took them almost 30 years to do that. They started production for this movie in 2007. And it just went through so many script rewrites, and getting the film off the ground with production companies. And they really started producing it in 2015 or 14, and that's when they really launched it. And then they announced it that it was coming out at the Oscars in February of 2019. Was when they announced it, and it was. And then they just they did. I had never seen the they did a 2-day premiere and marketing launch of the movie in New York, where they turned the streets into 1975. They rolled back the streets and they focused it basically on the day before Hoffa disappeared, which would have been pretty cool to see. I don't remember seeing that at all. But it's again a long movie, a really good movie, and I was surprised how much I liked it the second time around.
It's definitely a good movie, and I agree. You don't have to watch it all at once. You can kind of break it up. Just to give you an idea, just to put it in perspective, it took 108 days to film The Irishman. It took 18 days to film Sharknado. So if you the difference,
that's perspective,
which was 17 days. 17 days too money.
You just say what could 85 days do for you? That's the answer right there.
They could have knocked it out with an iPhone.
Howard, every time I think of The Irishman, I think of Ricky Gervais just hammering it on his monologue at the Golden Globes about how the movie was so long that Leonardo DiCaprio's date was too old for him by the end of it.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's the
oh man! All right, let's talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Again?
So, well, I was on a show talking about it, so I figured I should put it here. And Ron was on a show having a conversation about it, so I thought we would just officially cover it here. Ron, you have not seen this, right?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, for some reason you were.
I was on Tim's show discussing it at length and really just poking fun at the rest of the nerddom.
Has anyone seen Obi-Wan at all? Howard? Christine, are you Star Wars fan?
It will never happen.
You got to bring Tim onto the show. He's right here. He's bringing him on.
I am out on the Star Wars cinematic universe.
Me too.
Well, all right. So I will say that Obi-Wan takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, right? So if all those yearned for a show to take on after the horrible prequels, this is it. So this is actually, I'll say out of 10, it's a 7. It's enjoyable. You'll watch it. It's nice. Ewan McGregor is amazing. He's the most amazing thing in the show.
And handsome.
And handsome, yes. I think it's horrible that Moses Ingram was attacked on any level, the racism against her. But I will say that her character, I didn't connect with her character really. I didn't think she brought the emotion needed for this particular role. But I mean, I've loved her in everything else she's done, Queen's Gambit and everything else. And you can blame the director on that. I'm not saying it was her, but I don't know if it was just the storytelling or how they did it. But there was a lot of backstory that was the drivers of that. And it was a combination of just, I think, the plot that they gave her and stuff like that didn't 100% jive to me. Nothing on her. It's just, I think it was just the storytelling for her that kind of did it. One interesting. So what happens is you have Ewan McGregor and it takes place 10 years after. So Luke and Leia are 10 years old at this point. His job is that he is on Tatooine looking over Luke. Now, if you think of Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars, didn't have much personality, right? The yawn, the thing, right? Leia is a Spitfire. Carrie Fisher is a Spitfire. So when they're like, oh, which of these kids are we going to have an adventure with? Well, obviously they got to whittle it down to little Leia Organa, played by Vivian Leigh Blair, who I loved. She was like this little embodiment of what you would think a young 10-year-old Carrie Fisher would be. She was like a little Spitfire. So she gets kidnapped, and Obi-Wan has to go save her, which is not a good thing for a Jedi at this point, because they're all being hunted and murdered by the Inquisitors, because anyone who has the Force is being hunted and killed by Darth Vader and his crew. So, it's unfortunate they have to open up with... They have to open up with the whole disclaimer.
Ron is starting to have a tick.
Yeah. Well, they have to open up with a disclaimer, because,
so
on the heels of yet another school shooting, the whole plot point of this is the murder of many children. So, that's a little troublesome. And Moses Ingram's entire, path is set on being one of those children that escaped. So it's interesting. So anyway,
I like the part where they take your $27 for your ticket and a large popcorn. That's what I like about it.
Here's the thing.
TV show, Ron.
You have Darth Vader is a lot in this. Hayden Christensen is back.
Did you watch that Obi-Wan show?
The Obi-Wan show, yeah. They use AI to like recreate Darth Vader's voice, so that's why he sounds like Darth Vader from Star Wars. And there's some cute little extra characters and stuff like that. Indira Varma plays this woman, Tala. She's great. Jimmy Smits is back as Bail Organa. So there's a lot of fun things. You'll watch it. You'll be like, oh, that was good. And there's a ton of fan service stuff. Like just stuff they just show you just because the fans are like, we got to see this. And they show it. But that doesn't necessarily make for a great show. That just makes for some great scenes that if pulled out in a viral video would be like, oh, it's so cool to see, them fighting and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, it's an enjoyable watch, but I would challenge anyone 2 months from now to tell me what the show was about. Right? just because you'll be like, oh, I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable. I watched it. But then it was like, when Vader did that thing and he did that thing. And it was like, so Tim says loved Obi-Wan, but only gives it a B+. Loved and B+ don't mash. So there, your whole everything you've grown up to believe, Tim, is wrong. So those two things don't. If you loved it, it's an A- maybe with some issues, but B+. That's just you're just struggling not to give it a B. I know you're not here to defend yourself. Anyway, it's just like all these Star Wars things. I don't think there'll be a sequel to this. I guess there could be. They have to make up a whole story. Oh, he's weak, then he becomes strong. They have to create all these things so they can get at least 6 episodes. I'll give you that. That was at least only 6 episodes, and they didn't blow these episodes. It wasn't like, say, for example, like Stranger Things, where they don't know how to keep a story within 45 minutes. So they say, well, what if we just do it in 90 minutes and use 90 minutes to get nowhere just so we can get everything in we want to get to. But, so that was that. Wait, let's see. Tim, they matched. There was a few things I would like to change, but it's good. Good is not a B+. Good is like a C+, B-. I'm telling you. Why did
they have to kill off Groot though in the middle? Is that the same? That's not the same one.
Ron's trying to be funny by mixing genres and
the Enterprise.
Anyway, Obi-Wan is just one of those things. It's just like anything. It's just they're just shoving so much content now down our throats. It's like it doesn't necessarily have a purpose other than existing, for some cool stuff. I'll tell you in episode 6, in episode 5, there's an amazing flashback they recreate, and in episode 6. There's an amazing fight scene, and some really cool. That's pretty cool. I don't think the cameo at the end was really cool. I think that was like, let's shove this in and just so we can check a box. But whatever. So that's it. I say watch it, but knowing it, I wouldn't rush to watch it, or I wouldn't if you haven't watched it by now, it's like, slow roll it, fit it in when you can. But
yeah.
How does it legitimately? How did it compare to Mandalorian?
Oh, Mandalorian's I think 100 times better.
Thank you. That's there you go. That's it. All I need to know.
Yes, the Obi-Wan did have PTSD because he was upset that he thinks he killed Anakin. So he's upset about that. You were the chosen one. Anyway, I don't mean to be down on it. I give it a 7.
It's so for kids to me. Like it's still not made for me. None of that is. But whatever. What do I know?
No, you're right. I mean, I was 7 when I saw Star Wars, so I think those things kind of imprint. And then I think that was the problem with like the prequels. The people who were then, say, 30 or 35, they're like, this is a movie for me. And it was like, well, no, these movies were originally made for 7-year-olds. And so it's like, so for you at 35, 40 to feel like this is now yours. No, that's wrong. So when Jar Jar's going, doo-doo or whatever, it's like, that's the target. At some point we have to understand, I agree, we're not the target anymore. But this one I think was aimed a little bit at us. So, but I gotta tell you, there's some really cool Star Wars visuals that someone's
it's no Beavis and Butthead, but it's pretty good. Is what you're saying.
I don't know. Oh wait, let's see what it tied up a lot of loose ends, and it was fan service, but in the best way. What loose ends? That's the other thing. I don't. This did not have to exist. I'll leave it at that. Obi-Wan Kenobi did not need to exist. You don't learn anything of value that if you didn't know or never knew, doesn't affect anything else. All it does is create real confusion about why Leia doesn't know who he is when she's talking to R2-D2 in Star Wars. You fought beside my father. I seem to have forgotten we had a 3-episode arc where you saved my life and I bonded with you. That got missed, but whatever.
By tied up a lot of loose ends, I think what he means is a lot of men are finally becoming intimate with women for the first time since the original Star Wars.
That's right.
I love how he's trying to. Anyway, all right. Well, that was it. I think we've done enough damage.
Yeah. Hey, I have a couple of quick things. I just wanted to things that are out there. I mentioned it to Jeff before the show. I did not realize till today that there's a reboot of Fletch that is in post-production with John Hamm playing the Chevy Chase role. I'm really excited about that. Then I know that production has filming wrapped on the season 3 of Party Down. So we're just waiting for a release date. Unfortunately, I did confirm that Lizzie Kaplan wasn't part of the filming, but some great additions to the cast: Jennifer Garner, James Marsden, Zoe Chow, to go with all the others, Adam Scott, Ken Marino.
Why Jennifer Garner? That's like so stupid. What a stupid casting.
Why?
She's like a fucking superstar. Why would she be on Party Down? Does she have to take every role? Could we not give that to anybody else?
She hasn't done anything in like 10 years.
Thank you, Christine.
Oh my God, I see her every day on the MasterCard commercial or whatever.
Christine is welcome back anytime she wants.
Seriously,
that's because she's as pessimistic.
We're going to use 20 people in Hollywood over and over again.
Come review German films with me, Christine.
That's what we'll do, Baron. We'll run away and review German films.
All right. Well, I think this is one of the most successful episodes.
Bridget von Hammer's Mark.
This is definitely one for the books. Christine, thank you for joining us. Remind everyone.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Sal. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks, Baron. Thanks, Jerry. Oh, Jerry's out there. Sorry. Rosner's in here.
And Sal. So remind everyone, Christine, where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. Please do listen to my podcast, Storyworthy. There's so many past episodes, hundreds and hundreds of past episodes. So you can scroll through the catalog, pick a topic that you're interested in or a comedian, and then listen to that episode. It's just there waiting for you. Storyworthypodcast.com.
Nice.
Boom. There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Sal, say goodnight, my friend.
Good night, everybody. SalDemilio.com, Sal and Bob show at Genetti's, July 21st.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice. Ron, say goodnight.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. See you again next week on Crossing the Streams.
Ron, say goodnight.
Thanks, Roz.
Good night.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Thank
I'll be
you,
at my
guys.
pool all week if anybody's interested.
I might show up on Saturday, Ross. All right, but definitely check out Sal and Bob's podcast, The Sal and Bob Show. Check out my podcast, Classic Conversations. This is all awesome. I guess we lost Christmas. This is all awesome. And we will see you guys next time. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.